I probably got about 20, 30 yards into the field, and I started getting that uncomfortable somebody's watching me feeling. And the farther I got into the field, the more intense this feeling got. It got to the point where it was like every hair on my body was pins and needles. And then all of a sudden I stopped, and I'm looking at this thing, and it was taking me a few minutes to gather what I was looking at.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Todd. What's up, buddy?
Hello, Brian. Are you ready for another Bigfoot encounter tonight? Because we got one coming on.
Yes, always ready.
We do love the Bigfoot encounters, don't we?
We do. They're fun and exciting, and we learn something new every time.
We do. That's true. This one happened around Devil's Tower, or in the vicinity of Devil's Tower.
Devil's Tower.
You know, you and I have
Mystery.
been kind of delving into that a little bit, talking about Devil's Tower lately.
Yep.
So we're going to see what Leroy encountered when he went camping there years ago.
Sounds exciting.
All right, let's bring him on.
Let's get him.
How's it going, Leroy?
It's going. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good.
Good.
Thanks for being here with us today and talking to us.
You're very welcome about that.
How old were you when you had your encounter?
I do believe, best of my knowledge, because it's been a long time, I was 18 years old.
Okay. You were camping near Devil's Tower when this happened.
The area is just about 5-10 miles outside of Sundance, Wyoming, which is about 15-20 miles away from Devil's Tower.
Well, why don't you tell us what you guys were doing and what happened?
Well, it all started out, my uncle, my father's brother, was coming from St. Louis to go hunting with my father one last time. So we all loaded up. I took a buddy of mine with us who had never been hunting or camping like this before in his life. And we left Cheyenne and drove all the way up to Sundance. We got up into the mountains. And once we got up there, we were told that me and my buddy were sleeping in a tent because they invited the down the street neighbors, and his 14-year-old daughter was going. And I'm like, but you guys are getting to sleep in the RV? And he goes, you're sleeping in a tent. So we got everything all set up, and I had told my friend that it was going to be cold, and he needed to pack and dress really warm. You know, it's mid-October, and the mountains get pretty chilly around here. They can get really, really chilly around here. And, of course, he didn't quite believe me the way he should have. So we get up there, we get everything set up, get the tent set up, and I, being who I have been my whole life, going out into the woods with my father, dealing with a lot of the cold and stuff like that, and having been the younger one of everybody going, always took the back end of all the fun stuff that we got to do. So I knew what I was expecting. So I had all my clothes laid out on the tent floor. Then I had a second sleeping bag laid on top of that. And then I had my military grade mummy bag, which I was sleeping in, laid out on top of that. And, for the most part, the first part of the night went just fine. Got in there, got to sleep. I was sleeping really good, and I might have been on a slight downhill because my head had slid into the corner of the tent nice and tight. I'm not sure of the time, so I'm just going to say like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I was rudely awakened by what felt like somebody running across the field and kicking me in the head. It hit me hard enough that it flipped me off of my sleeping bag and into the middle of my tent and left a great big knot on the back of my head. it was, and when I told you this story before, I left a whole bunch of stuff out, which was a big argument that ensued between me and my buddy because I woke up quite pissed and I thought it was him who hit me and I wasn't getting the answers I wanted. So he finally got me to calm down and got me to shut off the little battery operated lantern I had at the point in time. And he's like, look, you can see everything. And I said, okay, I can see everything. Yes, it's a great big silvery moon. And it was one of those big super silver moons where you didn't need lights to drive down the road. You could see the barbs on the barbed wire fence 3 feet away from where I had my tent placed. You could see the branches. It was just one of those kind of creepy, eerie nights. And, you know, I couldn't get him to tell me why he hit me in the head. And one thing I should mention, my father was a 6'9" Cherokee Indian. He was a very tall man. So once I got the light turned on, we all kind of calmed down. We were sitting there and he goes, look, I'm laying here freezing. And he goes, yes, I know I forgot my stuff. So let's not get into that again. And I'm like, so what happened? He goes, well, I heard somebody walking to the tent. And he goes, at first I thought it was your father. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I knew it wasn't your dad when it blocked out the moon. My dad would have had to have been probably 2 foot taller for that to have happened. Okay, so, you know, that was the day that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, stepped out of being a fantasy monster to being, it's actually alive. So, to go on with everything, told my father, you know, because he got up about 4 o'clock, 4:30, was getting us up out of the tent to get us to go to bed. And, or not to go to bed, but to get up, get ready to go hunting. And I was telling my dad, I said, man, I don't think we should leave until the sun comes up. And why would we do that? I said, because Dad, and I told him what happened. He goes, you're full of shit. Nothing like that happened. I said, I got a lump on my head. Look. And he goes, I don't care about the lump on your head. That didn't happen. So as things turned out, because I really wasn't wanting to kind of go out after all that happened the night before, that, you know, it didn't feel quite the safest being on my own. But as it turned out, my dad and my uncle went one way, my neighbors and my buddy went the other way, and I was left sitting at the tent or at the camp by myself, and I was like, what the hell? So I'm looking down in this field, and it was a private property field. But the guy had left a note that he would allow deer hunting as long as you left what we call the landowner's ticket off of your license in his can, so he could collect the fees from the Wyoming Game and Fish for letting people hunt his property. And I'm sitting there looking, and there's this stream flowing through the middle of this field, and it's, you know, you can see thick, heavy brush and everything. And I'm like, all right, I'll head down that way, and I'll see what I can find. I probably got about 20, 30 yards into the field, and I started getting that uncomfortable somebody's watching me feeling. Kept turning around, kept looking. And the farther I got into the field, the more intense this feeling got. It got to the point where it was like every hair on my body was pins and needles jabbing into me. It hurt that bad, but I couldn't see nothing. I couldn't, you know, there was nothing sitting there visibly that I could watch. It was a great big open field. Other than this stream with all the brush and the cattails around it, there was nothing within 1.5 miles, 2 miles of me. So I kept on going. And, you know, as a young kid, 18 years old, you're not paying attention to everything in the woods that you should be paying attention to. So as I got down to the front of the head of the stream, the brush and the bushes and the cattails that that repeatedly grow there every year were so thick you knew there was a stream there just because of how thick it was, but you could not see light through it. It was like looking into a black curtain. So I kept walking on down the side of the brush and everything, and I had gone probably a couple 100 yards, maybe a little more. And then I got to realizing that even though I couldn't see through it, I could see sunlight starting to break through, and you could see deeper into the brush and the cattails. And then all of a sudden I stopped, and I'm looking at this thing, and it was taking me a few minutes to gather what I was looking at. And to date, I've only seen one other picture similar to what I saw. Now, the brush and the cattails were 7-8 feet tall. I mean, my father at 6'9" could have walked through there standing straight up and you'd have never seen him. He wasn't that tall. But what I was looking at looked like a man who crouched over. His head was maybe 6-7 inches below the top of the weeds. And, I'm a fairly big kid. I mean, I'm 5'10", I'm 260 pounds. This thing was twice as wide as I was. And I stood there looking at it for so long. You could see the head, you could see the shoulders. You could see where the arms draped down by its side. You could see the thighs that looked like tree trunks themselves, where they'd split apart, and he was just sitting there crouched just below the weed level. Wasn't making any noise, wasn't making any movements. I mean, there was no wind blowing, so nothing was moving. And I have heard and I have learned that, because I didn't smell nothing. And never stopped to realize this, but most animals won't let you know they're there unless they want you to know they're there. Like with a big predator, a cat, or a bear, you're not going to know they're there until it's too late, and there was nothing. So the way I've been thinking about this the last 20, 30 some odd years is that when these things let people smell them, it's on purpose.
Yep. I think Brian and I both agree on that. It's something they can control.
Yeah, it's a scent, just like, with a bear or a lion or, any of the muscaline animals, ferrets, skunks. That's, and I don't know that it's so much a defensive thing. I think it just wants to let you know that it's there.
Right.
But what I was looking at, like I say, it wasn't moving. It was standing there. And I have never felt fear like this before in my life. It scared me so bad, I forgot I was carrying a high-powered rifle. I'm like,
yeah, we've heard that before too. I've heard guys say that, hunters say that. I didn't realize I had a gun on me at that point.
Yeah, and I knew I had one. I left camp with it, and I had it with me when I got back to camp, but I had forgotten that I had it, and I wasn't gonna run. I knew for a fact that was probably the worst mistake I could have ever made. Just like with a mountain lion or something, it's gonna chase you.
Yep.
So I put a little more distance because I was only like 20 feet away from this when I saw it. Put a little more distance between me and the brush line, and I started back up the brush line and the creek. And even though I'm the only one there, the only thing I could think of at that time was get back to camp, hide in the tent. Not like it was going to do me any good, but like I say, I was an irrational young kid. And as I'm walking back, I'm kind of listening to what I thought was the little creek, little stream, whatever it was, just kind of bubbling and doing its little running thing. Sounded kind of loud, but what I was realizing is I had actually heard that on the way in. Didn't pay any attention to it. But as I'm walking back, it started to make more sense that thing had been standing at the head of the stream, the creek, and had been watching me all the way down. That was the feeling of me being watched that I was getting. And the closer I got to it, the more intent it got to watching me. So I'm realizing now that this thing is following me back the same way I came in. Have no idea what's going to happen. I just knew I no longer wanted to be there. Finally got up to the camp, and the whole way up there, I knew it was watching me. I could still feel it. Got up, crawled inside my tent, and that's where I hid until I heard one of the other vehicles pull back up. Of course, it was my father and my uncle, so they had already called me a liar about what had happened the night before. There was no way I was going to chance this and have them really call me a liar again. So, yeah, that's about where it's been, and it scared the living shit out of me.
I bet.
And I did not go back up there for it had been 32 years since I had returned back up to that exact set of woods to do any kind of hunting. And it just so happened it was spring turkey hunting time, and I was up there with a friend, and we're driving down this dirt road, and I stopped for a second. He goes, "What's going on?" I said, "I've been in this exact place before, and we're not sticking around." So, I've seen footprints, not up there, but in other places, and the very last time I got to go up there, it was a buddy of mine and a former girlfriend's youngest son. And we had a very interesting night that time too. So my extreme hunting up there in the woods of the Black Hills of Wyoming, up around Sundance and the Devil Tower, like I've told people, I don't sleep in tents up there. We'll either get a hotel room or I'll be in a camper. I'm not sleeping in a tent.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's just, and I totally forgot about this part, and it happens all the time, because it was like the night after or the very next night. I had come back to camp, and my buddy is cooking lunch in the tent. He's frying bacon in my tent.
In the tent?
In my tent. And I'm like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" He goes, "I'm hungry." I said, "But you don't cook in the tent." I said, "You don't cook anywhere near the tent." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Because we are in the mountains. You have predators. This is like ringing the dinner bell." And he goes, "Nothing's going to happen." I said, "Get your shit out of my tent." I said, "We ain't going to do this anymore. Get it out of my tent and finish cooking your lunch."
Was he in there because he was scared to be outside?
He was in there because there was a little bit of breeze this day, and he didn't want to fight the breeze while he was frying his bacon. So, like I say, he had never been hunting. He had never been this kind of camping before. He had no idea, and I never explained it to him. So we got him out, pulled our clothes and stuff out, hoping that they'd air out and do the best we could get. But went back to bed later on that day, and I want to say it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning again, and sound asleep. And of course, this time I'm letting him use one of my sleeping bags, so he's sleeping too. And at first, when I first heard this, I thought it was a mountain lion. And he goes, "What is that?" And "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard that." And I said, "And that's why you don't cook bacon in a tent." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, That's sounds like a mountain lion, and we're about to be cat food." And he goes, "No." And then it screamed again, and of course, the cat's now a whole lot closer than it was before, coming at a pretty good grip. And everybody's like, "What about the big shiny silver moon?" Well, that had died out 2 days before. There was no moon. It was pitch black, just like you'd expect the mountains to be. And this thing got so close that I could hear it take a breath every time it took a footstep as it walked around my tent. And then all of a sudden, for no reason, you just heard it take off. Just bolted. So I'm strapping a flashlight to the bottom of my rifle because I want to be able to see what I'm shooting. And my buddy's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go sleep in a metal body van. You can sleep in this damn porkin factory all you want." I'm shining my flashlight under my dad's van, seeing if I could see paws or anything. And there was nothing there. So I took off. And unbeknownst to me, my buddy was right behind me. I got there, I opened up the doors, and he practically ran me over getting into the van. So
I bet your tent still smells like bacon, huh?
I don't know. I threw that one away.
Don't blame you.
Probably a good idea, yeah.
I wasn't ever going to use that one again. As a matter of fact, I shacked two military grade mummy bags because of that. So, yeah, It's been in this interesting situation. It's just, and I don't mind going back up there. I'm not afraid to go back up there. I mean, if that makes any sense. But I'm a little more cautious in those woods than I am just about anywhere else. Yeah. And yeah, I know they could be anywhere, but
it's interesting when people say, "I just felt like I was being watched. I just knew I was being watched." We have that sixth sense of ourselves, and people don't realize that. We kind of know when someone or something is around. We kind of feel that. Now, like a mountain lion, they're very stealthy. You probably don't know they're around. But in so many encounters we hear, everyone says, I just had that feeling. Something was staring at me. Something was watching me. Did you get a good look at its face, Leroy? Could you describe any of it? Were you close enough to see any details?
It was still far enough in the bushes and the brambles and the cattails and the sun was to its back. So no, I didn't get I saw the body shape, I saw the body size, and there was no face, which some people are like, "Oh, well, you can't prove nothing then." Well, you weren't standing there when I saw it, and I don't need you to say you saw it. So, no.
In your wildlife there, you don't have anything that's built like that. I mean, I guess maybe a bear, but you would have known if a bear's not going to stand there hunched over staring at you like that. I mean,
well, too far away from Yellowstone for the grizzlies. And the only other bears we got around here are the black bears. And the black bear doesn't get that big. Doesn't even come close to being that big. A 300-pound black bear ain't much bigger than I am. This thing was massive compared to me.
Did you ever tell anybody about that?
I've told friends over the years. Very few. And I knew the reaction I was going to get. It's like I told my friend that went up turkey hunting with me, and the night things really started going odd for us up there. We were sitting there. It was about 11 o'clock at night, getting ready to turn in, and we're paying a whole lot of attention because it was nice. It was quiet. And then all of a sudden, a hen turkey at 11:30 at night just starts cracking off. And hour and a half, 2 hours later, it is still wound up. And he goes, "It's got to be a mountain lion." I said, "A mountain lion will climb the tree and get the turkey." I said, "There's something on the ground bothering that damn bird." And about that point, he's like, "Got a question for you." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "In that story that you told me about the first time you came up here," he goes, "was that completely true?" And I said, "Man, I've never had any reason to lie to you." Yes, that was completely true. And after that, we really don't talk to each other much anymore. I don't know what happened. And, that's fine. But yeah, that's how that goes too. So haven't talked to my buddy that went hunting with me the first time since then either. So, and I don't know why that is. I didn't do it to him.
Sometimes people go through these experiences and they kind of become a solitude. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be around the people that they saw it happen with. They want to forget about it.
They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but until you actually go through it, you don't understand what people might do or how they react to things.
And I can understand that. It just, better or worse, it is what it is. And whether they want to admit it and make peace with it or whatever it is, like I say, it is what it is. I didn't do it. I can't change it. Especially with the first friend, I didn't take him up there knowing that was the first time I'd ever been in them woods my own self. So,
back to being in the tent and getting knocked in the head there. Obviously, no one in your group would have done it on purpose. You would have been told if they did. And why would you do something like that to somebody? You're not going to do that.
Yeah. And I think maybe if I had been able to calm down a little bit more, because to my best knowledge, like I say, it felt like my best example would be like is if you're walking through a dark room and you stub your toe, because I had a barbed wire fence 3 feet away from me. And yeah, he, just made a misstep. Or he could have actually reached down and saw my head bulging in the tent and just whacked at one. I don't know. And since he doesn't talk to me anymore, I'll never know. So I don't even know where he lives. He moved away somewhere.
If you think about it, like I said, no one's going to do that to you in your group. It had to have been something else. But what could have hit you? I mean, a bear's not going to come walking by, or even a mountain lion's not going to hit you like that.
No.
It's like you said, something was running through there. And if you said there was a 3 foot away was a barbed wire fence, it was probably trying to cut through that area and got a little too close. Maybe it was trying to check out the tent a little bit too as it was running by, but it sounds like, you kind of got a foot to the head from the old Bigfoot there.
Yeah, because like I say, it rolled me completely off of the under mummy bag, and I think we had like a 2 foot space in between his bed and my bed in that tent, and I was laying in the middle of the floor, so it was a pretty good roll. Surprised it didn't break my neck as hard as it felt. But it's just one of those things that happen.
Did you believe in Bigfoot before this incident?
My belief in Bigfoot. I was young when I really first found out about Bigfoot, watched the Patterson-Gimlin films and, all them other little documentary films of it. And I always thought that would be cool if it was true. Because I always had a father tell me it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. So I kind of grew up thinking it was fantasy. And like I say, up until that night, that's all it ever was. Now I walk into the woods and, I know it's out there. I know it could be anywhere out there. Just what kind of mood's it going to be in.
Right.
And I've often thought that if I should happen to come across it again, like a lot of people say, I'm not going to take a shot at it. Not unless I'm afraid for my life or somebody in my party's life. I got no shoot it. Let it go on, do its own thing. It's just another visual sighting of him. But like I say, unless I'm afraid for my life or one of the people in my hunting party or camping party, I'm just going to let it go on about its way. Who are we to interrupt?
Right, exactly.
Leroy, what do you think Bigfoot is?
What do I think Bigfoot is? Well, I'll tell you, with the encounters I've had, and especially this one, there was never no big, bright, shiny bulb. I don't think it's an alien. I don't think it's interdimensional, because what hit me in the head was very solid and very real. It's been here. Am I completely certain that it is a primate in the great ape species? Of course, I say that like it's a bad thing, but we're a primate. We're just not covered in hair. We are an animal, just like them. They are living flesh and blood. They breathe, they breed. Maybe they keep their numbers down low because of us. I don't know, but I don't think it is spiritual in that way that it zaps in and out of portals. I don't think it's an alien from another planet. I could be wrong about that until I see some more suggestions and see something for myself. Probably always going to stick that way. I do believe it definitely has an upper advantage over us in the woods. That's its home territory. You know, yeah, there are words too. We're all meant to share them, but it lives there. We don't.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah, I don't think they come from aliens either. People have talked about, oh, the aliens brought them here to mine precious minerals in the caves and da-da-da. I think they've been here as long or longer than humans have.
Absolutely.
I think they have some capabilities of doing some things that might seem magical to us, maybe, but you know, look at chameleons, look at octopus, look at those creatures. Had we never seen those before? And for the first time you see them, you know, they can change colors and adapt to their environment.
Absolutely.
You know, and just like we talked about with humans having that knowing something is watching them sense, you know, we have capabilities we're sometimes not aware of, I guess. So who knows what these things can and can't do? But yeah, I don't think they're from another dimension or anything. I think they originated here.
Yeah, you know, along the lines a lot like we did, and how we actually showed up, who knows? But I know they were here before us, and that's my belief, is they were here before us. You know, some people say it is an ancestor of the Gigantopithecus. Well, with the little bit of DNA they found from that, just like with an ape or chimpanzees, to be more specific, their DNA is very similar to ours, except for one DNA chromosome. And that's nothing. But it's enough of a change. And until we actually know what it is, we'll never know. So I do believe it's, you know, the possibility of it being an ancestor of the Gigantopithecus. I've watched a lot of videos with this thing running and this thing, and in a lot of ways it does portray a lot of more ape species than we do. But then again, you never know how much of that is faked. You know? So,
right.
Unfortunately to say, and tell either the government turns loose a lot of information about this, because, come on, we all know they know about it, or one of us actually has to take one and they bring it into the public spotlight, we're never going to know.
Right.
And sad fact, but that's just the way it is. So,
do you think you'd want to see another one?
No.
No. You don't get that too often. Yeah, that's sometimes. A lot of times people say they would, just far away, but
right.
No, I mean, I know eventually it's going to happen. It's just no way around it. Eventually, I'm going to see it again. You know, I guess if I'm by myself, that's one thing. But if I've got other people with me, then you got to, you know, oh, I was just a bear walking out there.
That's always people's first reaction.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have that one when I first saw it. So, you know, I knew I was looking at something I shouldn't be looking at.
Right. Yeah.
I've said this before. I wish bears didn't exist so people couldn't say that's what they thought they saw. Then what are they going to say they saw? Oh, yeah. It was a mountain lion walking on two legs. Probably that's what they would say. But
yeah. Be a damn fat mountain lion, that's for sure.
I just know the Black Hills area from Mount Rushmore all the way up to Devil's Tower. That's a very paranormal hotspot area. I'm surprised you really haven't had much more going on up there.
Well, one of my oldest friends, he has family that lives up there, and we were kind of talking about one thing, and I told him, I said, I won't camp in those woods unless I'm in a tent or in a hotel room, and he goes, my own family don't camp in those woods. So, and
that'll tell you something.
I met quite a bit of his family, and I even met the ones that lived up there. But, very down-to-earth people. And if they're not going to camp in them woods, maybe I shouldn't either, but I still...
Yeah, obviously there's some activity going on there, as you would know. How far away are you from Devil's Tower now? I
am about 6.5, maybe 7 hours drive time from there.
Oh, okay.
I live... If you were to look on the mountain and you look at Sundance, Wyoming, and you go straight down the Nebraska and South Dakota borders, Cheyenne is right there. You got Nebraska, Colorado, and we're all in that corner. So,
okay.
Yeah, Brian and I were talking about Devil's Tower before we started this episode with you today, and just trying to figure out the mysteries and everything about it. I didn't know if you had any history about it being closer to it or being camping near it. But there's some weird stuff surrounding just that in itself,
I have heard. I've never really, I've always believed in UFOs and aliens. I mean, it is extremely human arrogance to think we are the only thing in all the universe.
Right.
Yeah, it's just human arrogance. We can't be. Yeah, I no longer, what they say, believe in God. I had an experience where I damn near died, and the only reason I'm still here is because of God. I mean, I was there. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be able to talk to you. The first words that I heard out of my doctor's mouth were, don't ask, I don't know, and you shouldn't be. And I looked at him and said, what do you mean? He goes, you should not be alive, and I don't know where you are. So if that's not a big proof for God, I don't know what is. But
what did you actually almost died? Do you remember what in your subconsciousness, what was going on?
Actually, I remember a big flash of light, and then I had this, I want to call it an out-of-body experience, but it's not like everybody shows you on TV. I was riding my motorcycle. I had just left work, and I was heading home, and I thought I saw a semi-tractor trailer pulled off on the side of the road. Well, on the road that I was on, he could only get halfway off the road. Otherwise, he was still halfway on it. And I moved to the center of the lane to try and go around him, and then there was a big flash of light, and then I woke up in the hospital.
So somebody hit you?
He turned. He never. He had no turn lights on. He had no blinkers. None of that stuff. He just zipped in front of me. Wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, and I was in the result.
Wow.
So
you're lucky you are alive.
Yeah. So I mean.
So you saw the flash, and that was it? You don't remember anything else till you woke up?
Well, there was this one brief spot before I talked to anybody in the hospital, and I used to ride a big old black Harley. And when this happened, as best as I can tell you is when it happened, I'm standing there, and everything, I don't know what the brightest, purest white you've ever seen in your life, but double that. And everything was white. There was nobody there but me. And in all honesty, the motorcycle that I just wrecked on was laying on the road, or laying there like it was laying on the road. I just knew I didn't want to go near that motorcycle, did not want to go near it at all. Don't know why, but I didn't. And I, standing there, it was like I was given 3 options. You can come this way, you can go over there to that, or you can go back where you came from. Wasn't like I heard a big rumbling voice or anything like that, but that was what was feeling like it was happening. And apparently I chose to come back here.
Wow.
Couldn't have been all bad. Like I say, we are all part of his creation and his master plan, and none of us are going to know what's going to go on until he decides to let it happen. So
yeah, that's what they say.
You're absolutely right, Leroy.
So,
well, man, thank you for being here with us today and talking to us and sharing all that. Those are awesome stories to hear.
Yeah, they were. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You go hunting still back up in that area? If you do and you see something
up in Sundance, yeah. Now I'm carrying a small camera with me wherever I go, because back in the day, cell phones, they weren't existent. So.
Okay, right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, and you have a good one, bud. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We appreciate it.
You too. You all have a great day. See ya.
You're listening to the Cryptid Creatures podcast with Todd and Brian. If you've had an encounter and want to be on the show, email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co or visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net.
I'm surprised getting kicked in the head like that by a Bigfoot supposedly wouldn't have, one, killed him, or two, knocked him out pretty good.
Yeah, at least knocked him out and given him quite the concussion.
He is a big guy, though. As you said, he's a pretty good-sized dude. So I can't imagine that. What else would it have been? Wouldn't have been a person.
No.
A bear's not going to do that. Mountain lion's going to do that. So
yeah, a bear would have taken a swipe. It wouldn't have given him a boot.
And they always talk about feeling like being watched, like you did. Walking into the area that he was in, and everyone always talks about that. I wonder if just waiting for that time when we're out hiking around, squatching around, to get that feeling of, okay, now I feel somebody's watching me. I at least want to get that.
I like that.
Give me that.
Can't wait for that. Yep. Even if we don't see nothing.
We'll take what we can get.
Let that hair stand up on the back of your neck.
That's right. Yeah. All right, man. Good episode again. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it was. That was good.
All right, then. Until next time.
Right on. See ya.